I think of often as there being a veto person as well. And that's kind of like a decision maker, except that they don't generally say yes. They generally say no.
We talk about an executive sponsor, which is the person who is the most interested and of the greatest amount of authority and power to get you to move forward in the sales process. So they're the person of the greatest amount of interest and influence.
Hello Sales Nation, I'm Will Byron, host of the Salesman podcast and founder of the Sales School. In this video, 5 of the world's leading sales and business experts share their thoughts on the personas that we're going to meet in accounts when we're selling B2B, whether that be a decision maker, a customer advocate, whoever it is. 5 experts share their thoughts on who we should be breaking down our customers into. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click subscribe. And with all that said, let's jump right in.
There are a few different personas to look at. There's often, depending on the structure of the organization, there's somebody who's the decision maker. I think of often as there being a veto person as well. And that's kind of like a decision maker, except that they don't generally say yes. They generally say no or go for it. And very often it's hard to get in front of that person. That person has pushed the decision making down, and they've really invested a lot of trust in their people. And they still might put the kibosh on your deal. So it's still important to try to get their perspective. And that's how I like to phrase it, is I'd love to get the perspective of whoever this person is that you've been talking to me about, who is going to look at the proposal that we put together as a collaboration. I love to do my proposals collaboratively. So that's, again, the decision maker, the veto person. Then there's the champion, who has decided they love what you do and they love what you're offering, and they want the decision maker to say yes. That person is your champion or your advocate. And then there's an end user. These are the people who are going to be putting what you sell into use. And it's great to get their perspectives as well. And it also, shopping for those perspectives, asking to be able to get those perspectives, can really help your champion to feel really good about the relationship. Because if you're only asking to talk to the decision maker or the veto person, right, then they hear what you're saying, whether it's true or not. They hear what you're saying as, you're not important enough. I need to talk to the honcho. But if you say, I want to get all of the stakeholders' perspectives so that I know that what we're putting together is really going to serve everybody. I want to talk to whoever has veto power. I want to talk to whoever is holding the purse strings. I want to talk to all the end users and make sure that as we're putting this thing together, that we're taking all the perspectives into account. That's really, really a strong way to go.
In general, when we look at the personas, we only look at like 3 common personas. According, like if you follow a buying process where we have a consensus, there are users, people who effectively are going to use the product. There are managers, people in generally who are interested in the dashboard and making sure that, like multiple people get access to it and so on and so forth, and that the team is happy. And we have executives. And in the executive form is like, does this deliver the impact that we set for? Are we spending our money efficiently and effectively on this? Those are like 3 common personas. Obviously, you have, and many of you can Google the term buying center. And in buying center, you have things like, hey, who's the innovator in the team, and who's the roadblocker, and who's the budget owner. Those are roles, and I could still, like talk a little bit about that. The key person in that is the innovator. For many people who sell an innovative solution, they say like, hey, I need to get to open up an account. In that case, what we commonly recommend is that you search on LinkedIn and you look in the LinkedIn profile for people who either somewhere in their profile say, was the first to implement Salesforce, was the first to create an entry for Marketo in Europe, was the lead person on XYZ. When you find people with that in the profile, you know that you got an innovator, and that in generally is a good entry point for an innovative sale.
Typically, there are 4 personas that we're going to see in B2B accounts, and I've got them written down here: the analytical, the decisive, the collaborative, and the innovator. The analytical wants to run a spreadsheet. They want to sit down, plug your numbers into their data, and see that there's a strong ROI, even on paper, even if the paper doesn't really make any difference, even if it's not a reality that everything's going to go to plan. If you can get them an ROI on paper, then you're very likely to win the deal. The decisive are typically higher up the food chain. These are the C-suite, the CEO, CFO, CRO, whoever it is. These are people who no time for faffing. You've got to get in there. You've got to build momentum. There's no small talk, very little relationship building, and they don't want that. They value people who don't waste their time with all this nonsense that we're all told to. This is why this customer avatar, this individual personality type is so important to recognize. We've got to get in, we've got to have conflict with them. They want to go back and forth with us. They don't want some weak person in the room with them. If they feel that you're weak, then they want to speak to your boss, your manager. If it's CFO, they probably want to speak to the CFO at your company. So to negate some of that, you've got to be willing to have conflict. And if you can do that, you will win the deal. Next up, we have the collaborative buyer. This is the person that I least like selling to. It's slow. It's in the name. It's collaborative. They bring a group together. You got to be diplomatic. There's got to be a process in place. Everyone has got to have their say. And if you can do all that, you'll win the deal. If you can't do all that, move on to the next one as quick as possible, because these people take up a lot of your time in B2B sales. Next up is the innovator. You're going to hear this person say something along the lines of, what got us here won't get us there. This could be the CEO of a smaller company. This could be the founder of a startup. This is the person who wants to break rules, bend barriers, and they want to get the job done quicker, faster, and more differently than anyone else you've ever dealt with. This can be great fun. This can be innovative. This can be a real challenge as a B2B sales professional, because they might perhaps not have all the budget you need to get the deal done, but they are willing to go back and forth and negotiate and pull value off the table, put it on the table to get the deal in place. If you want to deal with these individuals, if you want to win these sales, you've got to be willing to put on your entrepreneurship hat. You've got to be willing to kind of live their little world for a minute. And these deals are interesting because they scale. These are the people that you account manage them well, and they go from 50 accounts to 150 accounts, or 20 seats if it's a SaaS product to 150 seats very quickly. And if you're getting commissions on the back of future sales, these individuals are great people to have on board and great people to have in your network as well.
We break down personas in the following ways. We talk about an executive sponsor, which is the person who is the most interested and of the greatest amount of authority and power to get you to move forward in the sales process. So they're the person of the greatest amount of interest and influence. The second we call in our language, because I'm certain all the people that you talk to have a language. Our language is a raven. Those are those people who have the greatest amount of interest, but they don't have an executive authority to sign off on. They're the kind of people that will feed you information behind the scenes, right? And so, they may be called your spy. They're almost always your back channel for information. We refer to in our language, we talk about the eel in the deal. There's always someone who is working against you. That person, people think the most important person that you should be considering is the executive sponsor. Wrong. You should always look for the eel first. After you've figured out who your executive sponsor is, you need to find out who's killing the deal. Now, they may be killing it for good reasons. I mean, not because they dislike you. That's the wrong thing to look for. Look for the friendly person who's saying, I like the idea. I just don't think we should be doing it now. I just think out of all the things that we've got going on right now, or the lack of personnel that we've got going on, or the change in our systems that are going on, or the change in other providers, they've always got a good reason to do, maybe like hiring you on or bringing your organization on, but just not right now. And then the fourth, of course, is the technical buyer. It's the person who has to evaluate and approve whatever element of your product or service coming into their organization or system. So those are the four main personas.
If you're going to look across the board at different companies and who they sell to, they always have their decision maker, they always have their influencer, they always have their end user, they always have their financial buyer. It's pretty typical. The personas don't change that much, especially in an enterprise sale. Might be something different if you're selling into the SMB, who's your owner operator quite often. But other than that, it's pretty traditional.